Praise ye the Lord, all creatures, he who did make the mountains, he who did make the woods and fields, he who made the sky. Praise him who gave us gladness, praise him who fills our hearts with song, praise him who lifts their notes on high, there where earthly hopes belong. Praise ye the Lord, all creatures, he who did make the seasons, he who did make the hush of night, he who made the sun. Praise him who gave us laughter, praise him who taught our hearts to love, praise him and thank him everyone, seek him in his light above. Praise him who gave us laughter, praise him who taught our hearts to love, praise him and thank him everyone, seek him in his light above.
Good morning. Our reading is taken from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Did God create the universe or become it? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The Gospel of St. John, chapter 1, contains a passage that explains the essential truth that creation is a process of becoming. The universe is not separate from God the Creator, but a part of Him, even as our own dream creations during sleep are figments of our consciousness. God's is the life, God's the reality. Not a melody could be composed, not a poem written, were the melody and the poem not already there, simply waiting to be expressed. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Ego-directed desire is like static. It distorts the radioed messages of infinity. But the pristine impulse from the divine, undistorted by limitation and delusion, is the life that gives rise to all that is. As the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, I am the fluidity of water. I am the silver light of the moon and the golden light of the sun. I am the Om chanted in all the Vedas, the cosmic sound moving as if soundlessly through the ether. I am the manliness of men. I am the good sweet smell of the moist earth. I am the luminescence of fire, the sustaining life of all living creatures. I am self-offering in those who would expand their little lives into cosmic life. O Arjuna, know me as the eternal seed of all creatures. In the perceptive, I am their perception. In the great, I am their greatness. In the glorious, it is I who am their glory. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Manisha, and for those of you who don't know either one of us, this is my husband, Dambara, and it's our pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and worship together. I've spent most of my adult life as a scientist. I was drawn to the truth-seeking aspect of science. I was a firm believer in atheism and thought religion was merely a set of stories to give comfort to people less enlightened than me and other scientists. And standing in that reality, I was completely aware of this controversy between did God create the universe or did evolution create the universe? Which one of those was true? And it was such a raging controversy for a lot of people. And for me, there was no controversy. It's like both of those could so easily be true. Both of them together work together because creation is the process of becoming. I can easily imagine that we began our evolutionary road not from the apes, but from single-celled organisms swimming around in a primordial soup. And then one of the more enlightened avatar single-cell organisms said, you know, I think we would be happier, we would find more meaning in our lives would be simpler if we came together in community and formed a multi-cell organism. And then the next stage, and the next stage, and the next stage. The thing that's missing from the theory of evolution is the role of consciousness. Swami and Paramahansa Yogananda both talked about how consciousness is what drives forward our evolution, not only spiritually, but also on the material plane. We lived many incarnations as single-cell organisms until we yearned for something more meaningful, there has to be something more than this. And then we came together as multi-cell organisms. And then I wonder what's beyond this watery world. Let's splash up onto the shore and see what's out there. Because we yearned for something, for a new experience, not just because it's new, because we wanted to grow, we wanted to expand, we wanted to experience what would take us closer to divine truth. And we moved from single-cell organisms all the way to today where Oprah Winfrey might become our next president. Imagine the difference between those two realities. It is vast. And we had to do it in little tiny steps so that we could go into the next phase, experience that reality, yearn for the next stage and experience that reality. And now we're yearning for equality and honesty and true leadership, and here we are yearning for our next reality. There's so many great quotes in this reading that Vajra gave to us. Not a melody could be composed, not a poem written, were they not already there, simply waiting to be expressed. There's a flow of creativity that we can step into. Authors, composers, performers, painters, all kinds of artists and creative people talk about how it's something outside of themselves, something bigger than themselves, that they're merely expressing. If we sit down, if we're determined to write the great American novel, and we sit down and we just, with our self-determination and our willpower, we're just going to write the great American novel, and we start pouring words onto the page, what we'll end up with are words on a page. But if you go through exercises that bring you, open you in a creative way, that allow you to step into that creative flow, then the characters start telling you what they want to say, and the characters start showing you what they want to do next. And the story flows from the author, who's there typing as quickly as possible to capture that thought and that inspiration in that moment onto the next and onto the next. That's the creative art of becoming. That is an experience of God. Watching color flow onto a paper or a canvas and understanding what that flow is trying to say, that is an experience of God. Creating an altar for all of us to enjoy and be inspired by, deciding where that flower should go, where that fern should be, what colors should sweep across the base. Those are all experiences of God. They're not mechanical motions. They're stepping into a consciousness that leads you and inspires you and helps you become something creative. I am the fluidity of water. I am the silver light of the moon and the golden light of the sun. When you're sitting next to a stream and you're watching the water flow past, and there's this glittering, sparkling sunlight on the ripples of the water, and it's splashing up against a boulder and flowing on and lapping up against the shore at your feet. Watching that, immersing yourself in that experience, that's an experience of God. When you're sitting watching a fire in the fireplace and you're all wrapped up in your shawl, and the movement of the fire and the different hues that the fire presents to you, and it takes you somewhere, it takes you out of the present moment. The campfire, watching the campfire, smelling the aroma of the smoke, the trees around you, the silence, the soft sounds coming here and there, immersing yourself in that creation, that's an experience of God. We move into those and we can take them for granted, but if we sit and we're silent and we see the colors that come at the end of day in the twilight and how it imbues every color around you with a richness that is not there at any other time of day. It's this magical moment. That is an experience of God. I am self-offering in those who would expand their little lives into cosmic life. Helping others, being of service to others. I don't mind helping somebody else weed their garden. It takes me a long time to go out and weed my own because there's a richness in helping other people. I hate cooking, but I love going over to Laurelwood and help chop vegetables because I know these beautiful souls are going to come and they're going to enjoy that. And I'm working elbow to elbow with other people who are imbued with this joy of cooking. And there's so much potential in that kitchen with those giant bowls that will actually hold all the potatoes that you're peeling. There's just a joy that happens there. So serving others, helping others is an experience of God. Nurture those. Make those a part of your day. Help them spill over into other parts of your day. When you're brushing your teeth, when you're driving in traffic, when you're washing the dishes, or you're stuck at home alone cooking oatmeal. Bring those, try to have those splash over into it because you're becoming one with God. Creation is a becoming process. So always try to become. Create joy. Become joy. Let joy be what fills your day, what inspires your every moment, this moment, then the next moment, and now this moment, and now this moment. Become joy. Step into the creation of joy and become joy.
There's an option when you're the second one to speak, like we do sometimes, to just say, let's have our offering. And we'll decide whether I should have said that or not, because what she said was so good that it could stand alone just by itself. So I'm just going to patch a few things onto that, and then it's basically celebrating Portland. I think we're pretty hip here. I think we're onto something. I think that the things that Manisha described of just appreciating God in everything. We have a lot of that quality around us. And just this morning, driving over the hill from Laurelwood and seeing Mount Hood, just gorgeous with the fog creating a little divine skyline over to the side, and low seeing Mount Jefferson and Mount Adams and Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier, just like unveiled in all of its glory, and then seeing the beautiful green farmlands all around. It's pretty hard not to see God in all that expressing. And just to be here appreciating that, I am the warm, sweet smell of the moist earth. Coming from the Bay Area, I had a little kind of adjustment to the rain and the green, moist earth, as opposed to the sun and the ocean being right there kind of thing. But it has its own life and its own power. It is life. That's why the trees love it, And so I think in every moment, it's a matter of us just appreciating the way God's expressing right here, right now, through us. It's not a mistake. We're not in the wrong place. Where we are is exactly where we're supposed to be. And the secret is not trying to discover what lays outside in order to be happy by having that. Our happiness is already there. And it's just simply a matter of getting calm enough to see it. That's the whole spiritual path. And I think that a lot of Portlanders have that quality of relaxed contentment. Do you notice that? That's something that people from the Bay Area, when they come up here, they kind of scratch their heads, because Silicon Valley people, for example, are just so driven to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and that has its own special quality. But then you get here, and even when you're like new ministers like us coming into a temple and saying, okay, let's do all these things, and then you see people saying, no, I'm actually kind of happy just being what I am right now. It's like, yeah, but don't you want to be like Silicon Valley? Well, no, not really. So it's that balance of being content and yet also being tuned into how does God want to express through me? And God wants to express through me, in a different creative way right now than down there, than before. It's always something new. I'm amazed the way Swami Kriyananda all the time talks about whenever you've created something new, leave it behind. Because your next inspiration is something else entirely. It's not trying to recreate something before. I think it must have been hard for Shakespeare to have so much adulation. It's like, okay, how do I live up to being myself the next play, But when you really feel it, there's no trying to do anything from the outside. You're just feeling that flow. Mozart, can you imagine being that young kid, just hearing these symphonies coming through and just saying, wow, this is great, wow, or Handel. So that's what we want to do, is just get calm enough, and two ways. In meditation, making the habit of meditation. I'm preaching to the choir here, but literally half of you preaching to the choir. But where morning, night, or any other time we feel inspired, just letting it all go and just getting calm enough to listen to God flow through us. What do we want to do today? What kind of creative work do we want to experience today? Oh, that's a good idea. How can I be part of that? And not having any preconceived notions. Even letting our self-conceptions of who we are go. That can be limiting. Oh, I am a this. I am a dancer. I'm a singer. I'm a doctor. I'm a mother. Let all that identity, that self-imposed identity go. Yeah, that we have a role to play, but we don't want to get stuck in it. Maybe God has a completely new, fresh thing to express through us, and if He's been trying to whisper to us for months, and we've been so busy being confined in our self-identity that we haven't heard it yet. So just always to be open to that creative flow. Trying to remember, I am the fluidity of water, the silver light of the moon. But just in every moment to look around and see that uniqueness expressing in everyone we meet in every circumstance, and to say, oh, okay, I recognize you, God, in that. It's such an amazing creation this is, that God just dreamed. And it finds its expression in all these different forms, and like Manisha was describing, looking for an ever greater expression of that. And we're told that human beings have the potential to experience inside the highest realization of that by realizing our oneness with God. It's like coming full circle from divine bliss, just undifferentiated, nothing else but bliss, and then deciding, oh, what the heck, let's create something that, has this whole range of diversity. And it's fun, except those times that we forget where we came from. And then we start taking ourselves too seriously, and we forget. And that's the whole drama that we see all around us, and Harry Potter, and Star Wars and Star Trek and all those things that have the drama of us forgetting and then trying to remember again. So let's make it a point this coming week to remember as much as we can. We don't have to acquire anything from outside, as Yogananda said. All we have to do is improve our knowing. We do that by relaxing, listening, tuning in, perceiving the divine light inside, at the spiritual eye, the divine sound inside, which is the Om chanted through all the Vedas, the vibration that God set forth in the beginning to create this whole universe. The more we can tune into that and feel God's consciousness behind it, the more we can think of God not as something separate from us, but as something, someone, some consciousness of love that is us. How can we actively offer ourselves up to be an expression of that light, that love, in every single moment? Well, the song that we're going to sing next will tell us how to do that, so stay tuned. And first, let's have a little whispered...
entitled, What is Love?
What is love? Is it only ours? Or does love whisper in the flowers? Surely we, children of this world, could not love is love.